Welcome to another episode of the APL Spotlight Series. Incredible guests the world over with amazing backgrounds, experiences, and much more to share with all of us. It's actually their frequency. They're huge in the heart. The APL Spotlight Series is about having the really fun guests on. They're all fun. But from the main show, Angels, Positivity, and Love, we're over 300, probably have 320 shows taped. We're booked out to December of 2026. I think that's 364 or so. So we have amazing guests from all over sharing with us their wisdom and their love. And coming back to us is Cirak out of India. But he's really from the US of A, and he's done time in Bali and many other places. And I mean many other places over time. He's got a really big heart. He's a spiritual teacher, mentor, author, and much more. He has, my personal take, tremendous bandwidth in his ability to hold presence or to bring in the field of love itself or inner calm or peace to allow others to tap what they've got. And that's one of his super strengths. So, Sirak, great to see you again. Great to have you on. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Michael. It's always a pleasure. Third time, I think.
I think something like that, maybe third or fourth.
Yeah.
And for disclosure, we got to see each other in human form, person to person in Austin, Texas. That was awesome. Or Dripping Springs,
That,
technically.
yeah, super awesome.
Yes. Okay. Talk to us about the big picture for mankind. There's certainly a lot of details. There's a lot of complexity. We can get caught up in the external, and yet each human being, most human beings, have really big hearts and have more room or opportunity for growth than we typically appreciate daily with all the hubbub going on. We've got bills to pay, things to do. We have so much thinking going on, health issues, divorce, climate change, cats and dogs sleeping together, total chaos. What do we do with all this?
Yeah. In fact, here in India, there's cats that sit in trees and go meow all the time. And I'm told it's a bird, but you can't but gaslight me when it's not, when it makes meow, then it's a, a cat makes meow. Um, but the love of creation is in every little, I mean, 53 trillion cells come together to make you, make me, the tree, the cow, and they get their instruction from somewhere, and that somewhere is just something that loves to create. And so we're a product of love of creation. How do we create the best when we're also passionate and full of love for the process and being engaged and engrossed in it, not the outcome, not the planning and the mental part of it. So that love of creation is in every cell, and the more we get to know ourselves, the more we get to know every single cell in ourselves, the more we return to that love within ourselves. And then we live by, a light, a knowing, a felt truth. You could say our conscience. And once you can really see your conscience, then you can't go against it. It's just it becomes your dominant vibration. And then when you have a world that is more people that are living by their conscience and not willing to compromise it for anything, then you have a bigger take on things, even if you're still surrounded by darkness. You're led by the light. You stand in the light and you share the light, and we're all on that path. And it's just some of us are at different stations, but it's all good. We're always doing our best. The way forward is to accept where we are, not to always be seeking and trying to get somewhere that's where energy resists or persists because we're in a resisting mode. So just looking for little bits of love here and there and expanding from there. That's how we find to our deepest self. And then we're one with everything. That's it in a nutshell.
Uh, Beautiful. Well encapsulated very quickly. Know thyself and show love always. There's a lot of effort by a lot of organizations. Maybe that's kind of a clue. Or people, and it's about power, control, and a certain way to think, behave, believe. Can you gently touch on the complexities of mankind's version of Earth and talk to us about how it's, again, about love being in the heart and doing your own thing?
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest trappings is to be in a position of power because it is such a dominant vibration over subtle voice of it, subtle inner voice, subtle you wake up and all you can think about the dominant vibrations in your mind is like, how do I maintain this? The more you have, the stronger this, how do I keep this going and how do I grow this becomes. And it's hard to escape that train of thought and that stream of energy. So it ultimately is a trapping, but it's kind of the current model of the world. Um, and so, learning to deal with that, even as you become more aware, to then accept that the rest of the world is maybe less aware, or people again are just at their stations. It's not about aware, unaware. It's all a question of degrees, and a person can be super aware in one area and super blind spots in another area. So there's no judgment in that. It's just recognizing the anicca, the impermanence of things, the evolution of things, and tuning into somebody and seeing where they're at, and then meeting them where they're at. And there's nothing wrong with anything. You're not compromising yourself. You're actually supporting them in their being, and that helps them the most to move through that, move forward, and reflect on themselves and so forth. So reactivity, which is all mental in nature, is part of the big problem. And we live in a world that's always looking to elicit reaction from us, right and wrong, true or false, for me, against me, listen to us, don't listen to them. And that keeps us stuck in that duality. But ultimately, that creates suffering. And then eventually that pushes us to look for a better way. And that better way is to go inward and then get to know yourself. And what we mentioned earlier is as you start to transcend the spectrum and rise to a level where there's less chaos, less judgment, there's more peace and kind of sense of place. And from there we start to share and be of service and just do the best we can while we're here.
I think I've heard of non-duality and duality before. Can you touch on your books very, very briefly? But then I'm going to ask, and your publisher or your agent or you will not want to answer this in one sense. What would be the next potential book we could see out of you? So briefly touch upon, I think it's three books, if you could.
Five.
Five. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Three, five, it's almost the same. Add a little extra line in there. Tell us about your five books and particularly which one, given what you've just said, might be the one to pick up first. And then what would be the
Mm,
potential sixth book that you would love to see come out?
yeah. Well, so the books chronicle my own evolution as well. I wasn't born like this, and continue to grow and evolve. And so, as a writer, you primarily write for yourself. You have to get absolute clarity on what you just wrote, the last sentence, before you can move on. And so, it's very cathartic and cleansing and purging and healing and clarifying. As is journaling, and it's just that's a book is a bigger, more concerted effort, more structured approach to just going really, really deep about a topic within yourself, to where you're, in the felt knowing, the felt truth, which is body sensations realm, as opposed to just kind of mentally skipping about. And that's where really the monkey mind leads to blockage and frustration, and I'm not good enough and all that. So if you're experiencing those things, both as a writer, I run writing retreats every year, but also in any task, any activity or program project, then you're in your head, it feels a certain way. Noticing what that feels like is the best way to catch yourself sooner, and then bring your attention back to your body, which is always here, which is always present. So I chronicle this kind of evolution. This ancient wisdom has been around forever. And BU, my first book, The Journey of Self-Realization, not two, because it is a continuous process, and kind of this two evokes goal-orientedness, which is the whole point, is to break free from that. And then I have a workbook on that, companion book, and the five levels of awareness, I think, is the third book, which really systematically, this is my background as a UX designer and information architect, and continuing education professional, where I break things down into manageable chunks and understandable concepts that are very pedestrian, which often belies the wisdom because I use very plain language. And then I get notes from readers all the time. It's like, hey, I got your book. It's so easy to read, but I have to stop after every sentence because you have to reflect, because it goes straight in. There's no words that are in the way of the wisdom. So anyway, and four, I'm trying to think. Oh, four is Old Soul, Young Soul, which it's a 600-page whopper, but again, short chapters, and they show the 100 most common life situations from birth to death and everything in between. and how a younger soul, less aware soul might experience that situation versus a more mature soul. And then you can kind of reflect, and it helps you move along as to, where you're at and where you can bring the light of awareness into your being. And then the last one was God is a conservative,
Mm.
which talks about the expansion, the universe always challenging its own limits through the progressive mind, and testing, and let's throw out the old and see how far we can take this. And then it kind of veers, it retains, it conserves that which works out of that. And you come back to the core values, but with the awareness of having gone off track, and then come back. And so both parts are needed, but eventually you kind of settle. And this is why you have each new generation questioning the old, and then, but then when as they grow and have some life experience and see what things are actually like, they kind of return to their closer to their nest, but with having lived a full life. The next one, which is about to break, is number 6, is uh, End of Illusion,
Mm.
the title, How to Break the Spell of Everyday Beliefs. And it's again these, I sometimes call them popping thought balloons, because we just kind of accept them, and they're these whole containers of norms and standards and status quo and even prejudices, and there are all kinds of things. And we just kind of like don't think about them much. But if we just poke at it a little bit, those balloons pop, and you realize right away, like, why am I planning out my life, for example, when you cannot predict the future? No one can predict the futures. So why do I keep living as if I can? It's okay to have a plan as a starting point, but you got to be flexible. You got to be ready to pivot. You got to be present to see the gift that is basically in everything that comes our way. So that book talks about that. That's about to, it'll come out this summer. So I'm going back to Bali for to finish. And then the next 4 are already outlined. But the funny thing is, I can address the publisher piece. So I'm in touch with a publisher who, uh, I keep getting this response of this has already been written, and they're looking to fill out their portfolio, and they have their own agenda and competitiveness in them in the space and all that. And all I say to that is, most kids today have never heard of the Beatles, and every 10 years or so, there's just a rebirth, and anything before that is gone. And each generation has to have their own relatable figures. And just like they told Eckhart Tolle, Ram Dass just wrote "Be Here Now," and here he comes out with "The Power of Now," and no one's going to read it. So much for that prediction. And so you got to stay current. You stay in tune. It's important to be kind of part of a generation, a little bit ahead, but on the quote unquote older end, more experienced end. But you never let any external stuff stop you anyway. You have your voice, you have your life, your background. In fact, that background is the gift. Just because you start a new chapter in life, it doesn't mean you just somehow leave your entire personality at home. No, you bring that into, and that brings new, fresh perspectives and backgrounds. And then you put a group of people from with different backgrounds together, and they can come up with ideas that are far beyond anything one individual can. So, but the ability to harness that in teams and company settings and trainings and in the family and relationships, that there's some there's a gift in that. There's some wisdom and some insight needed to be able to harness that properly. But man, we have so much potential, and if we come out of resistance, everything exponentially. Just even the idea of trying to predict what might happen in the next meeting, which it'll always happen differently than you expect, because the energy of the next meeting or the next time you're on stage or you're presenting or anything is going to be different, no matter how well you rehearse. And if you're just playing off the script in your head, you're not there, and people can feel that you're not real. If you had a boring um, college professor who just kind of read off their notes, then you know what that feels like. It's not alive. We can't create anything from what we know. Nothing new. We can only repeat the old, and that's stale and that's boring, and that eventually suffocates. And then that builds up for too long. We do something crazy to break free from that, but it's because we let it build up for too long. If we really just learn to be comfortable with the unknown, show up, respond to what's there, that's the unfolding is what's there, And the unknown is a big piece of that. And you bring yourself to that and you make something happen. That's the most potent place to be. And there's no fear, there's no time, there's no, you do it a couple of times, you actually get the hang of it really quickly. This is not magic or woo or far flung, or it takes forever to practice. It's our natural state is to let ourselves be, let everyone else be. And in that allowing and letting things be, there's understanding, there's depth, there's a sinking into our humanity. There's a love, the love of the what's at our core of our own being. So it's all laid out there, and it's actually really, really close. It doesn't take much, a little scratching on the surface. It really takes a lot of effort to distract ourselves constantly, constant scrolling, constant numbing, constant avoidance, constant judging, labeling, all of that. That's where all our energy gets burned. But if we just come out of that a little bit, then we see the real potential of the light, and it's there for everyone.
Cirak, three-part question. What is the power of now? Give us an example where you allowed the universe to help everything unfold in a certain way. We'll call it manifesting or bringing it in. Something that's a fun example. You brought something in. And then who has surprised you along the way as well? If you could pick a human and you were delighted by some sort of experience.
Okay, so that's two parts.
What is the power of now?
Maybe there's a third.
What is the power of
Okay,
now? An
all right. So,
example of you manifesting, and then also a human along the
uh,
way that
okay,
surprised you.
got it. Got it. See, I read Power of Now and Manifesting as one, what is it? What it is. So that would be the answer there. But I have an interesting twist on that that I can share, and I call it the empowered no. So we can only manifest from the kind of the traditional way, if you want to call it that, of visualizing, of pretending it's already here, living from future backwards, and pulling things into the now. So that works to a certain extent, but it's still limited to who we are now. What I call the empowered no requires much more clarity, requires a sorting out of yourself. You can't have any fear, any avoidance, any voids within to be able to really clearly say no to things. So you're not clinging to some, oh, well, this might be my last opportunity, or there's not enough, scarcity mindset is in there, or I'm not good enough, or all that has to be clear to really, really say a loud, clear no to something now, and to because you're holding space for that which you do want to have come in. But it's not saying yes to what's already there. Yes is limited to right now, and it's also there's a tendency to use it to gloss over some of these shadow sides that I just mentioned. So the empowered no is really forming. The clear the no is shaping the most clear yes from the beyond, from where you cannot see, by creating that amazing space that you want to have filled, and you just don't know yet what. But by saying no to the things, you're creating, manifesting that amazing life for you.
You've brought up something I've never heard expressed before in 15 years, which is the duality of the manifesting at a certain level. But if you get out of the structure into your heart and you're talking about shaping something that's more in the field of non-duality, that's interesting. I've never heard that said before. Who's a person that's been fantastic along the way? It could have been a spirit guide, deity, angel, dream time. We're gonna let it fly. It could be Bali, that man at the ice shaving shack, and you had the most exquisite dessert.
It really is everyone you encounter on the street. I mean, everyone. Um, yes, they're amazing beings, and they're light beings, and they're there. And um, but what I find is that you can find that moment of realness with everyone, and it's the fact that they are, the fact that this moment is, and they're filling it. And humans have like a prominent role in filling a space, um, but it's not the content, it's not their personality, their look, or what they say. It's just that this is happening, and and so it doesn't matter if you're a mountaintop or you're talking to a street vendor. That the experience of happening is the peak. And in many ways, when you're around quote unquote simpler folks that are just kind of getting by and doing simple tasks, you feel that joy even more. And there's a simplicity and the purity that hasn't been that I find in Asia. I have been speaking at a lot at schools here and some charity events and not having so much. Apparently, it seems to create uh, an unimpeded sense of joy for being alive, being in a community, being just being, and not worrying so much about achieving and having and protecting and expanding on that. So I would say the greatest joy is to walk up to a stranger and see what's there and engage. And it's not anything you do consciously is worth it. And even small talk becomes powerful when it's done with intention, with presence, with small talk. It doesn't, the content of the words or whatever you're speaking doesn't matter. It's the presence part.
Yes. I did small talk. Okay. Um, I'm gonna light some sage here. We're gonna pivot and just do a little bit of we'll call it interactive with the universe, a little bit of love, briefly. And then I may have asked you this question before, but I don't think I have, and it'll have to do with human mankind consciousness. It's gonna be the $1 trillion question, or at least $1 billion. Uh, Mankind's expansion, its awareness, for those who want to go into their hearts more. So let me get focused to task. I've got sage, red-tailed hawk feather, abalone shell, crate and barrel blue tea light that protects the shell, and a trusty Bic lighter. We did this before the show. We've done it before. If folks haven't watched this show at all, and be sure to subscribe, like, comment, share. An emoji counts if you're shy. It helps others discover this. We're an intimate show. We don't say small. But we did break 3,000 subscribers. We've been doing this 3.25 years, and we've had at least almost 300 guests, definitely 500 tapings, 300 amazing guests from all over the world, and we have as many as we can back on who are fun. Okay, here's the sage. And you're in India. I'm in Texas, good old US of A. Are you already getting the sage for the audience? Are you getting anything else? You can have flowers, ocean, people at home. Close your eyes, put a hand on your heart, ask angels to get you out of your head into your heart. Own it with a thank you, Om Saram, rock and roll, amen. Whatever way you roll personally, it's got to be your intent. That's what Cirak reminds you. And you're getting sage for sure. We'll make that assumption. And then what else are you getting? You could get a hand on your shoulder, wind in the room, the smell of pretzels. I made that one up. What else are you getting, Cirak?
A giant pool of imagination.
And physically, so the audience actually hears it out of your mouth, did you get smoke, sage?
Smoke and sage and the chirp of birds, which means safety and freedom.
And
Crickets.
I'll put up just 3 photos of angels, real photos, sure shot camera, like 2014, 2013. I used to hand the camera to folks. I have not taken many photos in the last 8 years. Whoops, I'm bad. Uh, but I should one day. I think I just covered all the thinking things that you can say about this. Here's Joy, pink ball of light. She's very universal, an angel, very chill. If you don't mind hearing one thing for her, from her to you to share with all of us, what's a reminder Joy has for all of us?
Well, besides the obviousness of the name, kindness is a next second best. Just being kind, beginning with yourself.
Kindness counts. I love it. Abe, the Abraham of old, said that. An angel. I didn't come up with that. Okay. Here's Charlotte, everybody's favorite school teacher from third form if you're in Canada or third grade. Not the mean one, the nice one who you liked. She's got words meant to help us expand. What are her words for us today, Sarek?
No limits. Ultimately, every belief is a limiting belief. So it's not about believing more or harder or trying, rolling up your sleeve and or getting, another degree. It's unlearning to return to your unlimitedness.
Total brilliance. Love it. One more angel. Minn, like Minnesota, Lakota Sioux word for water. Very oceany, soft-spoken professor, my guardian
Mhm.
angel, but like 80,000 other people's guardian angel. Um, Catch some sort of amazing private effect. You feel
Mhm.
waves lapping on your feet. Maybe not the best thing right now, but you hear ocean waves. People can close their eyes, hit pause on this. She is a great Pacific princess to bring folks a surprise. Close your eyes and see the ocean, feel the ocean, even be the ocean. Okay, what's Min have for all of us?
In all the chaos, there is an order.
I'll do one more spontaneously, Geronimo, and he's a lot of fun. And might do Sri Ramana Maharishi. He was just looking me in the eyes as I was going to Geronimo, so he'll be the last one. I lied. Here's Geronimo, and catch one of those sacred smells in the air. It won't be necessarily sage. It could be sweetgrass, juniper, desert piñol, pine, cedar. There's about 60 of them. Tobacco. What are you smelling in the air first? And what's his words of wisdom? And he comes in like lightning. He's like, yeah, nah, duh. You already know the answer.
Prairie, smell of prairie, and timelessness.
And it took me like, I think, it took me 10 minutes to find this photo while you were doing your thing before the show. Uh, Sri Ramana Maharishi, if I just slaughtered the last name, but he's fantastic.
Yeah, just purity. Yes,
And
just purity, sweetness.
what's a reminder of a way for us to remember daily to be in our hearts? How can we slow down more? What's he suggest?
You can access the heart through the eyes. So looking at people, really staying there, keeping your contact. It's the closer it pulls you in closer, and the closer you are, you cannot wish ill upon anyone. You feel, literally feel our shared humanity, the energy field of each other. So Brene Brown has a good phrase where if you feel some animosity with anyone, we tend to back off, and then we judge, and you can only judge from afar. Actually, move in, and then it'll just melt.
And you don't have to go into business with them and start a franchise. You're allowing a little more and feel what you feel. Do not judge. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you three setups, and you're going to be that professor right now and connect all three and somehow tie this into the trillion or billion dollar question of mankind, global expansion. I asked an angel, I'll share something. I don't say this too often anymore. Maybe it's been a year and a half. There's an angel named Dale, coached an Olympic athlete. We all know won a lot of golds from the 70s or 80s. Um, Andromedan background, but an angel today, very down to earth, endearing, if that's the right expression. He'll remind you of Greg Kinnear if you'll close your eyes and see him. Dale the angel. I asked him once, how fast could mankind, if everybody yelled "Kumbaya" and we all had an iPad or photos or angels showed up in the sky, or we could all just go full stop for however much time? How fast would it be for mankind if we all wanted to pay attention? We were on board with more love, less thinking. How fast could we transform or grow collectively? He said 3 hours, and that was like 14 years ago. So I'm going to leave that as a subtle context to this question of mankind's expansion. Here are your three examples.
Hmm.
One is the movie Celestine Prophecy. There's a moment in the jungle where there's a group of people trying to evade some soldiers.
That's the
Yeah, and
yeah.
they raise their vibe at the sacred site and they disappear invisible. The soldiers pass by. Now, somebody pointed out that later one of them wavered a little. They got caught later, but let's stick to the part where they went invisible. They raised their frequency, and then it's two different realities. The next is Elizabeth April, remote viewer, intuitive on Instagram, pretty good following. But she's sharing a moment with her child who must be under 6 years old, who knows how to count like to 10. And there's another adult in the room. It's Elizabeth, and she's publicly shared this. Put one marble into the palm of the child. The child says one. Two marbles, two. Three marbles, three. Four marbles, four. They get to five. The adults see five go in. The child says four, and I think it's four marbles. So file that one away. The third is Cynthia Sue Larson, Mandela Effect. And she's just wonderful with her books, her speaking, very galactic, a lot of fun. She had a couple write in about their experience at the ER. Very high vibe couple, I think. He has an accident at the house, needs paramedics. They stop it in the short term, but I think he's got to get stitches. They know this ER is packed 24/7. The paramedics are cool. The ride over is cool. The two nurses are cool, and every stall is empty. Time flies by the 4 hours. They don't see anybody. They're assured that the place is packed like usual. There's no way it's empty. And they get in, they get out, they have the smoothest ride ever. They look back on it, they were in a different place somehow. The paramedics were good. They were straddling both dimensions, whatever you want to call this. So between all three, plus the Dale reminder, 3 hours flat, and what you talked about unfolding or bringing forward, talk to us about how mankind not necessarily can shift timelines, but how we can all be in our heart more, etc. What's the etc.?
Well, there's a strong component of Earth School, which is we're supposed to endure certain lessons because that's what deepens us, which, by the way, is why we don't have to be afraid of AI. It cannot learn from suffering. It cannot co-create with the unknown. So there's some distance between us and that. But back to the topic. Um, the the whole journey is to ultimately transcend duality, as we've talked about, and just the self. And the self is really as a something takes shape, takes form. It could be a tree, it could be a human, it could be a rock. Now there's a equivalent piece of consciousness that is aware of this, which is that's the awareness that we can tap into. And so the more we live from that awareness of ourselves, then the more we loosen and dissolve the self, which eventually, once that dissolves, then there's no more shadow, there's no more form that can cast the shadow onto the greater consciousness. And then there's no, the consciousness, the individual consciousness itself dissolves as well. And then we re-enter the great pool. I wrote about this 20 years ago, and only recently rediscovered it. But so essentially, it's, come out of resistance that this earth needs to be paradise. It can be for the individual. The heaven on earth is a real thing. You can manifest that for yourself quite easily. You need to set some boundaries and create environments to have some space for that, physical space. But in terms of your relationship with your unlimited nature and with the pure love within, everyone can access that. Everyone can achieve that. You just have to spend some time and put some attention, some focus there. Just like anything, we go to university for years to study something so we can get good at it. Well, invest some time into your self-knowing, into self-inquiry, and you'll get good at that. And these truths will reveal themselves. And they're not mental knowing; they're felt inner knowing. And so everyone can do that. It's just the time will come for everyone in their own way, that when that suddenly is of interest and the infatuation with the external has ceased. And in many ways, it's the infatuation with the external that then drives us, as we seek ourselves in it, to go beyond it, to see through it, and that really orients us back inner. I just call this a design of life. It's just naturally we're celebrating being informed to some extent, but then we recognize the limited nature of being in bodies. We can only vibrate so highly, and then we still have to eat and sleep and do these things. And so eventually we want to kind of transcend that anyway. So in the meantime, we're becoming more aware and of ourselves, and that is fuel, that transmutation, the fuel of all action is unconscious energy. We don't do anything because we know the end result. The end result is unknowing. And if we knew it, then we would probably not do a lot of the things we did. Anyone who's attempted to have a family, build a career, start a company, or any project, if you knew what you had to do, that after doing it, you might have not started it, because there's a struggle, but it becoming real is the journey, and that's where we discover our own realness. And but eventually we kind of deepen to the point where our vibration wants to exceed the state that we're in, and that's when we graduate from Earth School and maybe go somewhere else to continue the journey. But while we're here, it's the ultimate, one word that describes all of this: to move through it as fluidly, as as majestically as enjoying both the highs and the lows is acceptance. And acceptance is not a mental activity. It's not reframing or positive thinking or anything like that. It's accepting how we feel about something, sensation awareness, allowing your thought, your feelings. Every thought has a related feeling to come and go, to rise and pass, and that keeps us in the flow. That keeps us ready for the next moment. It's only the clinging and then the resisting that keeps us stuck and interrupts that whole flow process. And then once we get back to flow, which is our natural state, then we have access to a greater pool of creativity and inspiration. The biggest problem then is that too much inspiration because we still need to eat and sleep. So, but that's a good problem to have once we're in that state.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna do a few steps. I don't know how to say this right. We'll have you take a few steps, but with your permission after that, could you take us through a few steps? A second stage of this would be, can you help folks take a time out during this video to drop from brain into heart, or however you want to phrase it? And I think you did this once before, perhaps, maybe a few tapings back. But first, a little interactive is what I was trying to say initially. I'll put my hand up here in Texas if you'll put it up in India. And I've got a microphone here, probably going to blow and whoosh, but we're going to do something new, which is you can see light as an aura here. I've been seeing yours during the interview. If that's not your thing, I totally understand. If I think it is your thing, you're just seeing with all of you. If you don't mind putting your hand up in India, what are you feeling right now from like
Mm,
palm to palm?
yeah. Eat.
Okay. And I'm going to blow. We're going to blame angels for this. Don't blame Canada. We're going to bring in a lot of angels, a lot of light. And here comes the first whoosh. And like Goodwill Hunting. How about them apples? And at home, good time to put a comment down. If you're shy, just put an emoji. Put three emojis, and we know it's the hand exercise. Or you felt a little wind in the room, or got a hug. You can close your eyes if you're the mind's eye type person and actually see an angel come in, or a loving figure, or a relative, or your pet. Best to maybe go with a more neutral figure first, and then do the pet before you get teary eyed. It'll be what it is. Ask for your coolest loved one to come in who loves you the most. That's always a good way to go. Love, 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 love. Ben Stiller. And Cirak, did you feel a little extra on that whoosh?
Oh boy, did I.
Okay, if you'll open your eyes though, but carefully and see light all over here. I'll try to go on an old surf trip. Let me slow way down. And I'm gonna put my left hand down. You can put your hand down. I'm gonna sit back a little. Let me know when you're getting some light. Is that an affirmative? Getting anything here? Okay, you got to use words now. We're on a podcast and you're busted. What do you see?
Well, I see. I actually feel the. Uh, it's like a strobe light.
Ripple sheen?
Yeah, just yeah, in big and in small beams, just like
Oh, that's sweet. I've never said that expression in 500 tapings. That's sweet. I like that. Okay, do you mind having a spontaneous observation or message? And it could be loving beings flowing through you. It could be just like the simplest reminder right now. We're going crazy, Ivan, or doing the Chinese fire drill at a red light in the 1950s. Everybody changes positions in the hot rod. Um, what's the simplest reminder right now that we can take to heart?
feel your sensations. And I'll explain real quick what that is. I was sitting at a cafe today, and as hundreds of other examples throughout the day, people are upset about something, they're stewing on something, they're ruminating on something. And the single most effective, powerful method to come out of that stewing and out of that reactivity is to locate where you feel that in your body. Usually it's in the stomach, solar plexus, but anxiety lives in the chest or constriction in the throat, wherever it may be, tension in your jaw and your shoulders, lower back. Those are the common areas, but it could be your big toe. Wherever it shows up, look for this sensation and just stay there. Observe it, give it space. You'll come out of reactivity so fast, and it'll rewire the brain to no longer interpret whatever happened as a threat or danger or whatever. And this is how we come into clarity, into equanimity, and this is how you enter the flow and stay in your highest vibrational place possible. And it's really so simple and so powerful.
Mm. And I should have plugged you at the outset. You've spent time with the Eckhart Tolle organization, volunteering with Eckhart. You even led retreats as part of that organization. If I need to amend anything there, you'll let me know. But otherwise, that gave you a good experience along the way on your path. You've had many, many other experiences in Bali and India and elsewhere, and other teachings, other instructors, and not just human here and now, but on the other side, we could say, or dimensionally. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that to folks because I think if we look back at the way you speak, and there is some familiarity with, like, if you know the power of now or a new earth, this definitely resonates. So,
Yes, yeah.
okay.
I haven't had a single tutor or mentor, but he's definitely been one of my biggest influences, most consistent influences.
Yeah, I'll
And
say organic growth for you from the divine.
yeah.
You've been expanding, expanding, expanding. Could you take us through one of those out of the head into the heart exercises, however brief it is?
Hmm. The simplest is to just notice the incoming and outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils. You close your eyes. You could pick a finger, a stop spot on the wall. It's called a focal meditation, but the breath is the easiest. It's always there. And it's the only one of the few things in the world that is both autonomous. So if you're not thinking about it, it'll happen, and that you can also control. That gives you kind of this interesting blend of allowing as well as efforting, and to understand the distinction between the two, and so that you can take that discernment into broader life. And so just keeping your attention on the incoming, outgoing breath at the entrance of your nostrils, looking for that touch of your breath. And then within a few seconds, you'll notice the mind drifting. And that's okay. And just allow that mind to drift. The moment you notice it, with as little frustration as possible, bring your attention back to your breath. And just do that for about 10 seconds. Just breathing and noticing when the mind is drifting, and then return back to the breath. For many, that's already enough insight to gleam of just how fickle the monkey mind is, and what a miracle is that we've gotten anything done with a mind that can't even stay focused on something as basic as your breath for more than a few seconds. But it can be tamed, it can be trained just like anything. Your capacity can grow, your capacity to hold love for yourself and for humanity. It's all there. You just have to invest some time, and you'll get there.
Cirak, you're wonderful. Thank you very much for being a guest on the APL Spotlight series. Such a treat, such a pleasure all the time.
Thank you, Michael. Always, anytime.
Thank you.